in his barred gold helmet stomps around for first gear. Everybody takes a shot at the flagman, and Vaughn hits the first turn in 6th place. When he's brake light on. Down in front, boy, down in front. You know, these cats are really out of sight. They were worried about Vaughn not having a helmet and held up the race until they could find one big enough to fit his 21-year-old balding knob. They could have just left and raced without him, but they're not that kind. They're just beautiful people. They love to race, and it's not how much bread you got or who you are that counts here, but whether you like to race or not. There's a modern bike or two, not counting Vaughn's, but for the most part, they're old beat-up Islos, which are made in Mexico. And they've never heard of goodies like expansion chambers or Cherry-Anis, but replacement pistons and jugs and nitromethanol are plentiful. They use an old 39 Buick hearse, 6 pallbearers, a sponge rubber casket just to get a gallon of fuel for the pits. Man, now this is heavy stuff. Vaughn has worked up from 6th to 3rd place. As they round the last turn, moves up to take the flag for 2nd spot. Knit 1, purl 2. The winner gets to ride the village beauty queen around for 1 lap. Of course, 2nd place gets her brother.
Bueno, amigos, después de todo esto hacemos un llamado para que desalojen la pista.
The trophy presentations take place in the plaza with un gran fiesta, with free tacos and enchiladas and tamales and cerveza and tequila and whiskey and oh. Acapulco was a loser from the word go. The other places we'd been just kind of popped up in the road, so we'd heard about Acapulco ever since we were kids. The best part was the road in and out. A fun highway with groovy curves that just seems like it was built for our fun machines. Speaking of fun machines and groovy curves, we get a big smile, but that's all. After Bobby's cycling demonstration in the middle of downtown Acapulco, a kamikaze pilot went on the road with us. The man with a gun says no beach camping. Hotels were too expensive, so we head south. Leaning around the curves with the wind in our faces on our highway in the sky makes Acapulco's big hotel seem small and insignificant. Who needs them, man? Arriving in Oaxaca, which is pronounced Oaxaca, we push right on through the traffic trying to keep our face up to the Guatemalan border, which is just right on down the road a piece. Crossing these Latin American borders isn't as simple as their road signs. Everything's expensive and time-consuming. We thought we'd come a long ways, but this cat had ridden a 90cc all the way from Seattle, Washington, and was headed for Panama, but he had had a lot of trouble with it along the way. We blast across Guatemala with its orange groves, fast roof houses, clear jungle streams, extinct volcanoes, and pull up to the El Salvador border, hoping we wouldn't have to buy another $10 visa like we did when we entered Guatemala. And we did. They made us buy a $12 one here. The clear jungle streams we pass get to be too much of a temptation. And after what we had to pay to get in the country, we figured we owned half of this river anyway. So we pull over and stop and peel off our boots and our shirts and put on a diving show for the local kids, who seemed to enjoy it about as much as we did by doing it. Managua, Nicaragua is pretty at night. It's just like any other town. People live and die, work and play, love and fight, and have their children here. But revolt threatens with every sunrise. Some of these Central American countries ought to have a tachometer installed on their capitals just to keep track of the revolutions. Our Pan-American Highway, which we thought was paved all the way to the big ditch, turns to a dirt road. Buildings and paved streets turn into grass shacks and mud holes. And our good old corn tortillas and tacos and enchiladas turn into rice and soup. Living on the beach is a lot easier and better than mooring around on a bumpy jungle road. We're not equipped for jungle hunting. Our spear guns are about the only type of weapon we can cross the borders with. And they don't work too good on jungle cats or big snakes or thick-skinned alligators. We've been paralleling the ocean for quite some time now, looking for a road that cuts over to the beach. But it just doesn't look like there's any other way except through the jungle. Bobby seems to think it's only about 15 miles across this patch here, and it should be a real snap. So out with the maps, and we agree with Bobby. It looks pretty good. 15 miles ought to do the job, and we'll be off dusty roads and back on the beach again. Now, not really realizing what we could get ourselves into, like a lost, snake bit, or getting snapped up by some big pussycat, we get it moving. A hole appears, and we try it on and plow into a solid wall of grass, but manage to keep it going right on through. It didn't take us long to figure out why there wasn't any road to the beach. It's a bunch of swamp. Vaughn, not having any indication of a big hole, other than Bobby already sunk to his axles, mortars right into it. And there they sit like a couple of petrified pelicans while the realization that they're going to have to get off and push slowly sinks in their minds, as they slowly sink in a swamp with engines gurgling and bubbling as they fill with water. The push to higher ground through the leeches and oozy mud was a stinking job. By the time we get both bikes up to a dry spot, we're damned well exhausted and the mosquitoes have found us. Drying out the engines and getting them to run again while being eaten alive by mosquitoes takes much time. When we finally get them started, the sun is setting and we've got a night in the jungle facing us. And just the thought of laying out our bedrolls on the ground among all of nature's little creatures is just plain sickening. But we got no choice.
Hey, Vaughn, there's something in my bedroll.
Oh, yeah? What is it?
I don't know.
Damn! I wonder if there's anything in my bedroll. the time the jungle turned us loose on the beach, we've gone closer to 30 miles instead of 15. But riding along the beach with the fresh smell of the ocean spray is really great. Till we get a whiff of Bobby's sleeping bag. He says that snake crapped in it, but he's not kidding us. Just like home sweet home to be back on the beach again, and we make it down to our seafood supermarket for our supper. A boiling pot of nasty old lobster tails on the beach just beats the hell out of that jungle camping. If we continue south on the beach, we're going to be in Panama illegally. And this can cause untold amounts of trouble, fines, legal bad stuff, and even jail, which is expensive and takes up your time. The only way to get into Panama legally on the ground is by way of the Pan Am Highway, which is kind of paved in the southern part of Costa Rica. The only place to purchase visas is on the highway at the Costa Rican Panamanian border station. By now, we've got to be old hands at the border crossing gate. When the hand comes out for the loot, we say, okay, and we'll take a receipt for the money. We found out that these customs men at most of the border stations had a 50-50 arrangement. Half the money went to the government, and the other half went in their pocket. But they wouldn't give you a receipt for their half. So this made the visas much cheaper. Well, we finally get a look at the Panama Canal, the really big ditch. But being here is kind of like being back home, because everybody speaks English and the prices are just higher than hell. It's hard to believe that we've come so far in such a short time on so little. We didn't really know what to expect of Panama. The canal zone is ran by the U.S. government, and it turned out to be just one big military base, which really didn't turn us on too much.
Guys with the stars and the bars are always up front. Well, they're not always up front. When the shooting starts, they get to the back. Oh? How come? Because the guys up front that get to the back aren't up front and get back better than the guys up front who aren't in the back. Oh? Well, I'll be damned.